If you guys are looking for a video on how to find an online coach and what the process is to get that started, this is the video for you.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's been a long time since I made a video, probably closer to a year. A lot's happened since then. I've gone through a lot. I was dealing with a lot, so it was kind of a little tough to be consistent with the videos, but I'm back and I'm trying to make this a consistent thing. If you saw at the beginning of this video, obviously this is going to be basically focused on finding an online coach and what the process is to get that started, and really that I'm in it and how I got here, where I'm at, the benefits, all that stuff, right? So real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this particular little portion, but I'm going to get right into the meat and potatoes of it. But let me talk real quick about kind of what's been happening over the last year or so since I made my last video. If you remember, I was having a bad shoulder kind of impingement, but a situation where it was really hurting a lot. So I really held back off that. And time has gone by, it went by and went by. And then eventually when I got back into training, which I'll tell you guys about, in a minute, felt a lot better. It kind of, I started really getting, back at it and eating better. And it kind of just fixed itself. It's still, it's a lingering thing. So I keep an eye on it and focus on it. I'm not sure if it's one of those things where, my mind is so focused on it that it's an issue in my mind, or it's something to think about, or maybe there's like a little pain, but it's almost like a ghost pain, like I'm just worried about re-aggravating it, or it's something real. But either way, I'm still taking care of it. I'm focusing on form more than weight, and I'm just trying to do things the right way because I'm not getting any younger, and it's just, you got to do things the right way once you get a little bit older, because it's going to take a lot longer for you to heal up, if you're even able to at all. So that's where I'm at with that. I made a little bit of a list of some things I wanted to talk about, but I think that when you're looking for a personal trainer, looking for an online coach, this is going to be basically online coach stuff, just so you guys know. When you're looking for an online coach, I think you have to get to a certain point before you can actually be, serious about finding somebody. If you're just looking for somebody to train you, that's okay. And obviously everybody's different. It's going to work different for every single person. For my situation in particular, I needed, I think, to get to a point, almost like my lowest point, to be able to, flip that switch and say, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm going to be at. This is my goal. And that's kind of where I got there. Like I said, last year I had a lot of shoulder situations going on. So that led to me not wanting to work out, which meant, eating right wasn't really a huge focus for me. And my weight started going up. And then at a certain point I was about 235, almost 240 pounds, really closer to the heaviest I've ever been before. And, it bothered me, right? It was a mental thing. It was a physical thing. I was tired, moody, cranky, stressed, all that stuff. And I just wasn't as focused as I needed to be, and I wasn't in the moment and present when I needed to be that, because I just kind of, really just messes with your mind. So I got to that point. And the last little thing that kind of set it off was, or at least flipped the switch for me, was I went to get some blood work done. And typically my blood work comes back, or anything comes back when they check my blood pressure. If I go to the doctor, like, it's in my mind, I'm like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. It's always fine. Right. And, I got my test back, and I have an app on my phone. So I was just like scrolling through and kind of seeing what my numbers were. And, typically I'm like green. I'm just expecting all green. And then I moved up and I saw something that was either yellow or orange. And I was like, wow, that's weird. It's kind of high. And so I looked at it, and it was my cholesterol. So my cholesterol was high, and I was like, ooh, that's a big deal. So, I realized that life is serious. Not that I didn't in the past, but at the same time, I realized that, how I was before isn't the same as how I am now. And, I'm not going to just all of a sudden get healthy. I'm not going to all of a sudden heal up my shoulder. It's just not going to happen like that. So I made a decision that I wanted to look for an online coach. So, I looked around. I have actually tried a couple before. So I tried one. I'm not going to go into who that first person was just because I don't want to kind of put that out there. But it was a person that I have followed on YouTube a lot. And they were doing like this deal for 3 months. So I did that. And it was very just, there wasn't a lot of person to person kind of interaction. It just didn't seem like there was a lot of caring. It didn't seem personal. It seemed like an automated AI response to a bunch of different stuff. You know, my macros were given to me, my training splits was given to me just like typically with everything. And you know, after a couple of weeks, I checked in. They said, "Oh, keep everything the same and keep going. Good job, whatever." There was no weekly check-ins. There was really nothing. I mean, in the beginning when you signed up, it says every other Monday will say is your check-in date. You know, if you forget to check in, that's on you. Kind of, pretty much that's what it said, right? Pretty much said that they weren't going to reach out to me. It was on me to reach out to them, which I guess is an accountability thing. So I get it. But at the same time, you know, when you get to that point where you need a trainer, I feel like accountability is a problem, right? And just to be, you know, it just didn't seem right. It was professional, I guess, because that's just what it is, but it seemed business. It seemed like a business transaction rather than really trying to help somebody. So, you know, I think so it was 12 weeks and I got through like a month and a half and I said, you know what, I'm done. I don't feel supported. It is what it is. So I got out of that. So it wasn't a great experience. And then a little bit after that, Christian Guzman, which is someone that I follow on YouTube, he has a clothing brand named Alphalete, and he started a company or a facility called Alpha Land, and they were just starting their online coaching, and they did a little deal that was like a 21-day challenge. So you paid $21, and then you go on there, and they put you with the coach, and you go through their Trainerize app, and they give you splits, they give you macros, they check in with you. It was really, really good. I didn't win that, but at the end of it, I talked to the coach that they gave me. His name is Zach Martin. He's a great guy. He was very cool, personable. Seemed like he just really genuinely wanted to help. And just when we talked about pricing, it just seemed like it was a bit much for me to be able to pay that, at the time. And so, you know, I was like, man, thanks. I appreciate it. But right now I just can't. And he's like, no worries. Let's just finish up the training and let's get after it. And I said, cool. So, you know, that came in, that went, and that was probably to that point, it was my best coaching experience at that time. This was a year and a half, 2 years ago. So, you know, brings us to where we are now. And I needed to look for a coach, and I kind of had a good situation, a bad situation. I reached out to Zach and I say, are you guys still online coaching? He said, I think they are. I'm just not with that portion of the company. Still, I'm an athlete, but I don't do the online coaching. I said, okay. I reached out to Alpha Land. They never got back to me. But at the same time, I had reached out to another guy that I followed on YouTube. He's actually was the very first person that I followed on YouTube when it comes to fitness. His name was Matty Fusaro, and he does Fusaro Fitness. And, you know, I watched him. I mean, from back in the days, I've watched him probably like, I don't know, 12, 13 years. It's been a long time. And I reached out to him. You know, we had a phone call. And, you know, we talked about it, and I kind of opened up to him more than I think I have to other people when it comes to like what my real problems were when it comes to like, you know, being an emotional eater and my mentality when it comes to food and stress and all that stuff. And so it was kind of cool because I felt real comfortable talking to him. You know, we talked about price in the end, obviously. And, you know, I decided, I was like, you know what, I don't think I can swing that right now, you know, so, let me just kind of talk to my wife and see what's up, right? So he said, no worries, of course, I completely understand. So I talked to her, and she was very much like, well, if you want to do this, let's do this. And I was like, you know, I just don't feel like it's a responsible financial decision right now to do. So I held off. Time went by. This was, end of May. She knew I wanted to do it. And then for Father's Day, she gave me a card, and it was a Father's Day card, and inside of it was money. And essentially she told me, I want you to do the personal training. I think that you want it. I know that you need it. And, you know, I figured it out. Let's go. So, you know, my wife is incredible. And so what I did was I immediately reached out because I was super excited. I said, hey man, let's go, bro. I'm ready. So, you know, we had a conversation, got the day started. We had a meeting about what the process is, what my goal is. and I'll talk about his situation or my I guess my experience with him right now. But before that, I want everyone to know kind of what the process is when you're looking for an online coach, because I also, not gonna lie, I reached out to a bunch of other people also, just to kind of see if there was something a little bit less expensive. Just because I was trying to be financially, smart when it comes, it's me, my wife, and my 3 kids. So I needed to make sure I did the right thing, the responsible thing. So, typically when you reach out to an online coach, first of all, when you go online, it's almost like you can't trust them. It's a very generic, and they just give you people and you don't know if they're good or not. And so I thought, okay, maybe going to Instagram and looking on online personal trainers, that'd be a good idea. So I looked, and really what happens is, you'll go on there and you'll reach out to somebody, or they'll make a post and it says, you know, direct message me muscle, and we'll get this started. So you message these guys, they get back to you, they ask a couple of questions, what's your goal, where you're at, all this stuff. And eventually, obviously, you're going to get to price. And when you get to price, what they're going to do, which is a sales tactic, they're going to say, you know what, I think it's best if we get on the phone call or a Zoom call. And they're doing that because it's easier to close the sale when you're talking to the person, whether it's visually or just on the phone, rather than through text message, because it's easy for someone to ghost you, right? But not that it's bad. It's just, it's a sales tactic. It is what it is, right? So, I was messaging with some guys, and I said, I don't know, man. It's another guy I talked to, and his pricing was ridiculous, right? And so, that was before. That's the kind of the process to get it started. And everyone says they'll do your macros, and they have unlimited access to them, and they'll give you, your workout splits and all this stuff. But I think really finding somebody that you gel with, somebody that you feel like understands you, someone that's listening to you, someone's going to check in on you. That's what's super important. And everybody wants different things, right? So if someone's like, hey, I'll get you jacked in, 90 days, then maybe that's what you want to go with. I just wanted to be healthier. I wanted to be present for my kids and my wife. I wanted to, I wanted to be able to hang out with them and not be tired and not be exhausted and mentally drained. I wanted to be able to be focused on them, on work, on everything, on myself even, just to be really happy, mind, body, soul, kind of all that stuff, right? So that's kind of the process to get it started, and so that's the same thing I did with Maddie. It's the exact same thing, right? So I think when I reached out to him, I talked to him, and we got it all situated, and I was weighing about 230, 235 at that point. I had started to, since I was going to, so when I told him we were going to, I was ready to go, he set up next week we were going to have a phone call conversation to kind of get it started. I thought that my 90 days, because it's 90 days, I thought my 90 days were going to start then, but it didn't. That was just a call to get us situated, to see what, I wanted, what he can do for me, what our goal is, and all that stuff. So I already had started mentally like getting situated. So I was dieting. I was trying to get back in the gym better, because I figured that if I can get so far ahead of it, when I actually got to the process and starting it, I'd just be taking off, right? Rather than starting my jog, I'll be just, sprinting. And so I started getting my weight down, which is good. I think I got down to 230 or something like that. So it wasn't bad, right? But I felt good. We did an upper lower split, 4 days, 4 days at the gym. I'm gonna start trying to run now, just because I want to add something else in there, just because I've always wanted to get into running, and I've never really dedicated any time to that, but I want to do that now. But that was the beginning part. I'm already 9 weeks in right now, so I can tell you right now that I weigh 200, and I was 209 pounds last week, but then I went to a work trip, so when I came back, I was like 212. So still much, much lower. And, I'm going to be honest, like I've kind of, I had my anniversary trip, went to New York. I ate a lot. I gained like 8 or 9 pounds, you know what I mean? But the idea is that, he was there to support me after. Like I came back, I was like, man, I feel a little down. I didn't get to work out. I didn't eat great. He's like, bro, you can't beat yourself up. Like you just got to get after it and just get back at it. It's fine. People, this happens all the time, but you're going to start losing the weight fast, because there's a lot of water weight if you've been drinking, if you've been eating, if you're bloated, all that stuff. So, I consistently get during the week kind of check-ins from him. And I do know for sure that if I messaged him, he would get back to me very fast, which is great. So he has, he doesn't have an app, but he does have like spreadsheets, and I send pictures and weights and all that good stuff. I'm not going to get into the specifics of all that, but because that's his business. But it's super, super thorough. It's just, I appreciate him a lot, and again, I'm 9 weeks in, so I have the rest of this week and then 3 more weeks after that. So I'm super excited. My goal was 205. That's really what I wanted to get to. So, at my lowest, I was 209, I think, last week. So I can get down there, I feel like, pretty fast again. But I'm happy. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy with all that stuff. So let me check my notes here, make sure I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. One thing I wrote on here is like when you're looking at prices, because everybody has different prices. And I think I don't know, I didn't really think all the way about, I heard price and I didn't think of, you're getting a service, right? You're getting a service for what you're paying for. And when it's something like that, it's an investment rather than just a cost. And you have to look at it like that, because if you look at it as an investment, it doesn't matter what the price is. If you feel like you're going to get an ROI, so a return on your investment, and you're actually going to dedicate yourself, it's worth it, right? So what I paid, I feel like it's worth it. I feel like I learned a lot. I have learned a lot. I made a lot of progress. I feel better about myself. I feel stronger in the gym. I don't feel like I'm trying to just lift heavy to lift heavy. I feel like I'm lifting smart, which is great. So everybody's different. Price is going to be different for everybody. Some people maybe have access to a lot more money than other people and they're able to pay higher prices. Some people not so much. So, it's a little hard sometimes probably to find something that fits your budget that you feel like you can get a good, return on. But, this worked out perfect for me. I was able to swing it, obviously, with my wife's support. And I knew that since she kind of not manipulated, but since she worked the money and made it so that we were able to pay for this, I knew that I was going to put in 100% effort. And I wanted to make sure every time I think about not going to the gym, I'm like, we invested in me. I need to do what I need to do to give back and to meet myself halfway. And so, anyway, so the prices is determining prices is hard. It just depends on the person and who you're going through. But I feel like if you want good pricing, if you want, a great, I guess, person to work with you, Matty Fossar is definitely the guy to go to. I can definitely, 100% say that. So yeah, so again, right now I'm 212. My last thing here to talk about was my physique and strength and my weight. So, physique's gotten better. Over the weekend I did go to a work trip. I went to a bakery and I was, tasting a lot of different things because that's what my job is, food industry. And so when I got back, I messaged, Maddie, and I said, man, was my weekly check-in. I said, hey, I'm kind of feeling a little down on myself, man. I think I ate and I'm just kind of not feeling too great right now. And he's like, I know you're feeling down, man, but understand that last week was like one of your lowest weeks so far and your average is fantastic. And then he's like, I want to show you something. He sent me pictures of my front, side, and back. And he sent them to me from the very first one I sent to the last one I sent. And he goes, it's only been 8 weeks, bro. He's like, and you made this much of a progress. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, damn, like I hadn't looked at it. And so he's like, not even really 8 weeks, because the first week we were getting stuff situated with your food and getting your workout situated. And so when you look at it, I'm like, dang, I made a lot of progress. And I'm super happy about it. I'm excited about it. And it kind of got me reinvigorated, re-energized, and just ready to go to finish my last, 3.5 weeks of training. So I'm super happy. I feel like my arms have got a little bit strong, bigger. I obviously got stronger. I'm able to lift heavier. I'm smarter about it. My stomach has kind of gone down a little bit, so it's not so like bloated and sticking out. My legs have gotten thinner but stronger, which is great. I just feel good, especially and then when I start being consistent with it and like taking vitamins and doing my greens, and I mean, I got my shake right here with my berries and my protein and my creatine and all that stuff. So it makes me feel good, and that's great. And so having consistent support, having changes that you can see, eating good, that makes you feel better, and that's fantastic. And that's like, it's like an easy thing to say, right? When you're gonna work out and you're like, how do I lose weight? You're like, okay, it's pretty easy. You just eat right, work out or stay active, and that's kind of, it all works for itself, right? You just stay in a calorie deficit, don't crash diet, but do it healthy, and it all works itself out. But for me, the hard part was the support, was having somebody there to check in with you and say, hey, it's midweek. Hey, how you doing? Just want to make sure you're all good. Is there anything you need from me? And that's what he does. And that's fantastic. And that's what I needed, right? I can come up with a split. I can come up with eating right. But for me, the accountability and having that support, that's really what my return on the investment is. That's what I get from the money that I'm paying, which is fantastic. And I'm super happy. And thanks, Maddie, if you see this. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, what I want to start doing next, is making more videos. But I know that in order to make videos, I'm going to have to get comfortable with recording myself in the gym. And that's a challenge for me, but I'm going to try it. We're going to see how that goes. Because I know that there's not really much videos I can make other than unboxings and reviews and progress of all that stuff. But that's kind of all I can do other than actual working out and stuff like that. So that's my next kind of step. My challenge for myself is I'm going to try to record myself and, see where that takes me, and make more videos and be consistent, because this is fun for me. It's just sometimes I get into a lull and I just don't do it because I just don't have anything to record or to talk about or whatever it is. But I think right now enough time has gone by that I have a lot that I can catch you guys up on. So anyway, sorry if this video has gone a little bit long. I appreciate you guys staying and listening and supporting. And look for more videos coming from me. I'm in my son's room still, but I'm trying to work on someplace I can do podcasting at. I do have an MMA podcast that I'll have to it's been a couple months since I've done anything on. It's called the Fight Club Podcast. And so I'm going to start getting back at that again too. So just starting to be busy and active and, doing more stuff. And we're going to start working out with the kids and just, the idea is that I feel healthier, that I am healthier, but also that my kids, and they see a healthier lifestyle, that they do better. And then in turn, they'll help their kids when they have kids to do better and be stronger and have the right mindset and be healthy. And it's a circle, right? But it starts somewhere, and it started with me. So thanks guys so much for the journey, for being with me in the journey. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.